I'm going to continue this conversation around growth versus scalability. I think it's really important. It was reflected in some questions and some work I did over the last week. So I want to continue this and get these definitions embedded and burned into your brain about what it means, because most people can't define scalability. Everybody can just define growth, right? But just defining scalability, and if you want the big breakdown of that, watch my last episode, growth versus scalability, right? And get the hardcore definitions of those, because it's really important. When you read through today where it says scalability leads to growth, right? It'd be interesting to see if just take a survey question. Does growth lead to scalability, or does scalability lead to growth? You get a lot of different explanations. And again, it'd be because people, for whatever reason, it's not judgment, but people really haven't done the work to go deeper into what do these terms mean and how do they fit together. And they get used interchangeably way too much. And that's why I wanted to take back ownership of these last week. I want you to understand them so you understand where this fits in whatever you want to create. So let's go into this, right? And read the post below this, read the description, right? Scalability leads to all those things. And really what it is, but I hate the word mindset, it's scalability mindset and doing leads to all those things. So when you go back and read those, like scalability leads to hiring, scalability leads to growth, scalability leads to freedom, it's a scalability mindset, and doing leads to those things. All these people who start their businesses and I want more freedom, I want more time with my family, and so I'm going to open this business, and then they can't tell you. They tell you what the business is going to look like in 3 years, but you gotta have a roadmap, my friends. It's like, oh, anybody can do it. I can go into a gym, I can rent some space, and I can start seeing people tomorrow. And I'm not judging what you choose to do. This is really important. If you want to create a job, that was the other thing. Scalability makes the job a business. If you want to show up, if you want to rent a space in a gym and show up every day and do your marketing and see patients and go home and save money towards something bigger in your life, right? There's zero wrong with that. But let's not confuse that with starting a business. That's starting a job. It's a job that you created that you have 100% control over. It's a job when you're not there Monday, and take a week of vacation off Monday through Friday, you're not making money. So by definition, right, author Daniel Gerber says a job is something you can leave for 2 weeks and you come back and it's striving and thriving without you. That means revenue sources continued. That means production continued. That meant seeing patients continued. That meant generating revenue continued. That meant paying bills continued. That meant your marketing continued. That meant your sales process continued. All those things. That's a business. And what Michael Gerber explains when he says a business is something you can leave for 2 weeks and you come back and everything is fine, that's scalability, right? And so I want you to understand that scalability is not something, here's the big takeaway. Scalability is not something you think about when you say, well, it's time to grow. Scalability leads to more productive and bigger growth. So if you're thinking about scalability at the beginning, it will get you in this mindset of how am I going to maximize my growth? And this was a conversation that kicked in the other day about I got multiple employees, right? I'm doing this, I'm doing that, right? I'm getting busier with them and teaching them how to stretch. Well, that's not scalability. That's getting the most out of your team, making sure you understand your metrics. Don't get me wrong. That's just doing the work. The scalability of all that is once you make your team stretch, and by the way, your hiring process is scalability. It's a process, it's a system, right? How I manage that hiring process is scalability. Do you have the systems in place to turn on the hiring process, regardless of if there are people out there that want the job or not? Do you have the ability to turn the hiring process on, get someone into the funnel, get them interviewed, get them screened, get them trained, get them onboarded, where you can drop them into the system sight unseen, and go on vacation for 2 weeks and have them where they need to be in the time that you need them to be there. So do you have rules of engagement together? Does this person know how to manage a patient arrival? Does this person know how to manage a patient evaluation? Does this person know how to present a plan of care? Does this person know how to manage each and every visit to facilitate a completed plan of care? That is scalability. Those are systems. If you're in network, do they know how to document? Do they know how to bill properly, right? Is there training for that? So that, again, the flow of the business continues without you. And the flow of the business is far more efficient. I love this. I come into a lot of clinics. Here's a perfect example, already established, right? Multiple sites, one site, multiple employees. I come in, they got all these front desk people doing all these tasks, and they're actually inefficient. Yeah, we're growing, we're doing this, right? I love when people say we're growing. Growing doesn't imply you have scalability. Growth means you have more business. Can you accommodate more business? Can you continue in PT world example, can you continue to deliver the same level of service, expect the same results? If your drop off and cancel rates are going like this all year long, you don't have scalability. Having a wait list is actually the step before you hire someone. So it could be part of a scalability program. A wait list should be the last thing, right? Should be like the last tell. Everybody's stretching, everybody's redlining, the wait list gets to 1 or 2 people, boom, the hiring process and onboarding, and boom, getting someone in. So here's a great example of efficiency with scalability, right? If we're redlining for a month and now we have a wait list starting to grow, every day I don't get that process started, hiring, training, onboarding, right? And getting them in the door ready to treat patients, see patients who arrive, pay, and then stay and manage all those patients and move them through a completed plan of care and then on to the next one, right? The longer you take to do all that, the more money you lose. So there is efficiency built in with scalability. It means, again, this has nothing to do with having available employees or not. It's, do you have the system in place? So if someone was available, you could, right, move them through the process. Everybody goes through the same process, right? Have them jump through the proper hoops, have them do the proper things, have, right, everybody agree, you agree to hire them, the training, the onboarding process, boom, right? All that is scalability. That's all your hiring process. And then boom, the onboarding is scalability, the systems with that, the rules of engagement I just mentioned. And then the deliverable, once they're on their own, what's their accountability? What's the follow-up schedule for training? What's the follow-up? You know, do you have weekly EDMs? This is all part of scalability. And you must be thinking about this way earlier than you are. And I used to love this. Not used to love this. I still love this. I always say your first hire is your most important hire. Because if you're in a scalability mindset, you look for someone who can help you. This is always so baffling to people. I'm like, you're not hiring a taskmaster. No, your first hire is not a fucking VA. Your first hire is someone who can help you build out the systems to manage a VA, right? So your second hire could be a VA. But that first hire you bring on, right? This is part of building the efficiency in. Right? You screen and you hire someone because, by the way, you don't need a scalability program for this first hire. So you take your time and you find the right person who can do the tasks, who can do this mashup of tasks you need done and build the systems out for it to be scalable. So when you hear about creating a business is about creating systems, this is what we're talking about. And most of you are not thinking about it early enough. And like I said, I go into clinics with, right, practices with 2, 3, 4 offices with no front end systems. So they got to 4 offices, they grew, and they become more inefficient as they grow. They're losing more money, more lost leads, more drop-offs, more cancels because they didn't create the scalability. So again, scalability creates greater growth, more efficiency around that growth, and therefore more fucking money, right? We see it every day. I see people with multiple clinics. They just keep growing. They just keep adding stuff. They keep throwing more stuff at it. There's no scalability. They're not scalable. Again, I've had this talk many a times. They say, now I'm going to sell my business. Someone shows up. There's nothing to sell here, right? You're out marketing your name, right? People are coming in. They're seeing a bunch of people, right? There's no rhyme or reason, right? We have no documentation of how many leads a month, right? Which is part of scalability, knowing what to measure. We have no documentation of how many leads arrive, how many people, right, complete a plan of care, how many people move on to a maintenance program. That's all scalability. So you can have growth without scalability, and it's alive and well in physio healthcare. And you keep growing, but you just keep throwing more parts at it. You keep putting on more duct tape. By the way, these are the clinics with the high burnout rate. These are clinics with PTs complaining all the time. These are clinics where nobody gets their documentation done. These are clinics where the team can't, where no one can tell me numbers. It's insane, man. By the way, these are the clinics on bonusing visits and units billed. If you have scalability built in, you know the value of a completed plan of care, right? Visits don't account for drop-offs. If I had 140 visits this month, I'm rewarding someone, whether it was 140, right, different people, or if it was 10 courses of care. Visits is not a bonus structure for someone who understands scalability. By the way, everybody's thinking right now, I know clinics, and there are people listening to this going, I'm one of those clinics. I'm like, right, it's growth. I'll tell you what else. This is that great example of, the PE group, the private equity group that I've talked with, coming in to help them add value to the businesses they purchase. What do? I bring in the systems for the front end that you forgot to put in your business that make that business a freaking machine, right? How do we answer the phone? How do we talk to people? How do we move people from the first phone call to getting their email? How do we move people from email to a welcome call? How do we move people from a welcome call to arrive and then pay? How do we move people from arrive and pay to stay? Those are systems. That's scalability. So you say, well, I have something scalable. I have a business. I sold it. I'm like, yeah, I know. And then I came in with the PE group and we pulled another $10,000 to $20,000 out of it a month. That's a multiple you left behind. If you would have been working with those systems, thinking scalability, you would have been pulling the $10,000 to $20,000 a month out of your business. You would have had another $100,000 to $200,000 a year on the books. That would have figured into your multiple. You would have been paid a lot more money. By the way, I'm doing this for this group in 4 months, decreasing drop-offs, increasing drop-offs, cancels, no-shows. Those are all systems and scalability issues. People don't understand what scalability looks like in their business, because what do? More new marketing. All they care about is cramming the top of the funnel. The top of the funnel is pretty to the PE people, but they understand where the lost value is. They're hoping, by the way, here's a huge physio business alert for you today. They're looking for people who are focused on just the marketing and the top of the funnel, because they know you're letting people leak out, and they know there's lost value in there, and they know there's more money to be recaptured immediately in this business. These people that are currently in the business in September and falling out in October, they're not going to let fall out. They're going to immediately start extracting the value out of your company that you sold right after. So let's back this up. I don't want to jump ahead too far because I started with you on your own in your first hire, but this is where this ends up. This is the progression. So as you are out and about, as you are doing your work today, whether it's 1 or 20 employees, you got to think about the work you are doing, and does it create more efficiencies? And will the work we're doing today accommodate more growth? Well, yeah, we keep growing, but I'm like, yeah, but you're getting more inefficient along the way. We got to think about these efficiencies. And the efficiencies are what lead to a consistency delivery of services, marketing, sales, retention, that end up delivering a bigger ROI. By the way, better efficiency can mean faster, doesn't mean slower. If we can get people into the system, ready to arrive and pay, and then get them to stay, then we're going to grow faster and faster. This is the other thing I can't understand with the wait list and the cancel rates, man. It's like you're condoning and okaying with your team people burning out and churning out because you didn't build in the scalability mindset into your front end processes. A drop off before visit 3 is because of your sales process. So if your solution with drop offs is just to yell at PTs and then go back to the top of the funnel, you're never going to fix it. And you're constantly going to bleed value and bleed growth out of your company. This is why I want you to go back. If you're earlier in your career and you have 1 or 2 or 3 employees, start engaging people to write down what they're doing every day and then see if everybody's on the same page. If all 3 of your providers are greeting people differently in the waiting room, talking through and moving through an evaluation differently, if they're not greeting the patients the same at every visit, and they're not using the same conversation at the end of every visit, then you have inconsistencies that is making your system more inefficient, which will not accommodate growth. AKA, you'll get more new patients, but they'll churn out faster, lost value. This is the importance of this scalability mindset. You got to be thinking about scalability first. Had this great talk yesterday with someone brand new, still in his old job, he's starting to transition out. This is where we win, right? When's the last time someone sat down with someone going out of business and going, we got to think growth and scalability. Oh, do you have your attorney, you have this? I'm like, who the fuck cares about that person? You ain't going to need a finance person and an attorney, an LLC, if you don't start thinking about growth and scalability first. And we had a hard discussion. I loved it. Loved it because he owned it all. I'm like, look, I'm going to present you 2 different scenarios and both of them are very okay, right? And this is someone later on. They don't want to hassle with hiring. They don't want to hassle with all the work around scalability, right? So they're owning the fact they're creating a great job that they can go to every day and they'll love and they'll be able to extract money out of. I'm like, good, own that right now, man. Just own it right now. And we're going to create for you a great job, right? So we're going to figure out what your max is. And this is the beauty of owning that job thing. Then you just market to your maximum. You don't worry about redline. Who the fuck wants a redline if you're in a job? You don't want to be redlining every day because then you're forced to start saying no. You're forced to start thinking about hiring. And then guess what? You weren't in the scalability mindset. See where we went with that? Cool. Scalability first, my friends. Scalability leads to greater growth, leads to a greater ROI in growth, leads to better hires, leads to turning that job into a business. And scalability is what gives you the freedom, right? So if you want, right, if you want to be able to go on vacation and have something that generates passive income for you, then you got to be in the scalability mindset. Cool. Really appreciate you guys listening to this. This is a great topic. Again, if you guys want, to continue this conversation, please join my Facebook group. If you're not already there, right? Go to my YouTube page, click on my podcast, right? Talking about this stuff all the time. All right. How's that for a great timing? Cheers.